Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we will be discussing our Game Week 10 team selection and we'll take a look at some of the transfers I could be potentially making. We'll also take a quick look at Game Week 9, see how we got on. And if you do like the video, be sure to hit that like button. And also, 10k is in my sight, so if you do like these videos, be sure to hit the subscribe button and let's get straight into it. So another green arrow this week. We absolutely smashed it on the transfers once again this week. Last week it was with Alejandro Garnacho and Youngmin Son. This week with a 10-pointer from Palmer and a 6-pointer from Aït-Nouri. So absolutely delighted with the transfers. We got 63 points this week. Before we get into the team, I will discuss a small bit, why I kind of chose Palmer, even though it's kind of fairly self-explanatory, I want to say. I would say I got the feeling that Son wasn't going to play fairly easy enough. I think the majority did. I probably expect him to come back this week versus Villa. Of course, he didn't feature in the game midweek that we saw yesterday versus Manchester City. What a game, by the way. We won't get into that just yet. William Saliba to Renan Aït-Nouri. Renan Aït-Nouri, defensively not the greatest, but attacking-wise, he looks like reignited to what we've seen in previous seasons. So delighted with the extra points, and I think we'd be on a red arrow without him. So let's take a look at our actual team. So like I said, a 700k green arrow and 63 points. City finally keeping a clean sheet. I knew miracles can happen. Trent, of course, blanking versus Arsenal, but it is what it is. I didn't think I expected too much from that game. Aït-Nouri returning like we said. Rodgers, of course, with a blank and an early sub, which is not the most appetizing thing I have to say, but Mbeumo with a massive haul and doing absolute wonders for our team, like he is for the majority of the managers who are active. Also, Garnacho with a blank, but very unfortunate not to get anything, hitting the bar and also missing a chance or two. Of course, again, we seen them play against Leicester yesterday, and we seen Ten Hag get the sack this week, so things are changing for United. What light you see that in, it is subjective. But maybe you might think that United have a good chance to maybe turn the table at this point of the season and score some goals, which is what we care about in terms of FPL assets. Of course, Cole Palmer, no surprise there. What a player. He is slowly becoming the best player in the league, if not the best player in the league, easily. What a player, what a performance. So let's move on quickly from him. Dominic Solanke with another poor performance, I have to say. And just a boring game overall. I didn't get the chance to catch this game. Probably the first game I've missed in about 2 or 3 years as a Spurs fan, but there was just no service where I was staying and I was in Manchester, so maybe it was a sign that I missed this game, and it worked out in the end, I suppose. Solanke is definitely one that we'll discuss in the next section, though, what to do with him and some of my plans. Erling Haaland with a goal, of course. Nothing special though. I know a lot of people triple captain him. I'm delighted I kept on to my triple captain. Of course, we still have our triple captain, and looking forward, I mean, it's actually going to be fairly fun because I don't plan on using it on a template player. When I say template player, I mean where the majority are going. Of course, a lot of people used it for that Ipswich fixture, and then a majority used it this week that didn't use it in the Ipswich fixture. So plenty of time in the season to use that chip. I'm in no rush to use it. And it's going to be quite fun. Of course, Kai Havertz with another blank versus Liverpool. He's not done too well in the last 4 away fixtures, but he's another one at St. James's Park. I think I might be holding on to him. Again, we will discuss it in the next section. I suppose the main thing from this week I am happy with is, of course, the 2 transfers. And I need another big green. Like I could do with 2 in a row going into next week. The big decision for me was to bench Mykolenko instead of Aït-Nouri, and thankfully it paid off. So that was Game Week 9. Enough rambling on about that. Let's get into Game Week 10. So we go into Game Week 10 with 2 free transfers and 1.3 million in the bank, of course, after making last week's transfers. Finally holding on to those transfers, probably paying off now, and a lot of issues coming up in a lot of people's teams like Saka and Son in recent weeks. So let's start with the back 4, including the goalkeeper, Ederson, Trent, Mykolenko and Rico Lewis. Let's start with Ederson and Rico Lewis. I think this is the 4th week City are the highest in the clean sheet odds in the league. A bit lower this week than in the last 2, but always a good sign. And I remain highly on my hill that I don't regret the decision of doubling up on the City defence. I think if I hadn't have doubled up on the City defence, I'd probably end up with Phil Foden, who, I mean, in recent weeks hasn't looked great either. So, in hindsight, quite happy. We seen City what I would say a disappointing performance against Spurs yesterday. And Rico Lewis, of course, played. And Pep came out after the game and said, we need to play Rico Lewis every game. Now, that is a bit off-putting. I hate when managers say something like that. It just feels, counterintuitive. Just continue doing what you're doing. You don't need to tell us that. But let's see. I'm hoping, of course, for another Rico Lewis start. Then again, though, Bournemouth are quite a decent team. We saw them cause Liverpool hassle. Semenyo with an offside goal. We see him slot 2 past, of course, against Arsenal, which, to be fair, was the game state with the red card. But going into this fixture with double City defence, I can't say my hopes are too high. So the other two is, of course, Trent and Mykolenko. Let's start with Trent. I think this is a good fixture for Trent. I feel like this could potentially be an open game. Of course, Liverpool will try to control the game, but Brighton are good, and there will be spaces opening up for Liverpool in this game for sure. We haven't yet seen the attacking potential from Trent that we're used to seeing, to be honest, but again, I feel like I'm happy going into this fixture with Trent, and again, I don't think I need to put too much thought into it. Especially when I look at the other teams that are playing this week. There's no real standouts, I would say, in terms of defensive numbers. Maybe the Arsenal ones away from St. James's Park, but that just doesn't sound great at all. So, of course, I don't have even single Arsenal fence, but I'm happy with how it looks. The big decision for me is Mykolenko instead of Aït-Nouri this week. Of course, we done the reverse of that last week, but I think this Southampton fixture and Everton in general, they seem to do a bit better in these types of games against the lower teams. We know how good Sean Dyche can be at holding out for draws or even just very low scoreline goal game. Sorry, I can't speak. But yeah, I think I will definitely be starting Mykolenko this week. That Aït-Nouri fixture versus Crystal Palace is probably not as good as the Southampton away. That's not to say Southampton can't score. It's just I fancy Everton more so than I do Aït-Nouri to get another attack in return this week. So let's move on to the midfield. I forgot to say, if you guys have any questions, be sure to fire them away down below in the comment section. I'll get back to absolutely everyone. A big question lots of people have this week, and we'll get straight into it, is Mohamed Salah. He plays against Brighton at home this week. What should I do? Should I sell Haaland? For me, I'm more than happy to hold on to Erling Haaland. He's after getting a rest midweek versus Spurs, which was actually quite surprising. And I just think Bournemouth away is a lovely fixture for Haaland. And don't get me wrong, Brighton at home is great for Liverpool. And they're just after playing Brighton, but I think it still is a tough game for Liverpool, and they'll be both playing their full squad. So it'll be a tougher game this time around. I would say maybe next week is maybe the opportunity to do it. Again, I'm not eager about doing the move just yet though. Looking at my midfield, I've got Cole Palmer, Rodgers, Garnacho and Mbeumo, and I really am starting to differentiate my team in this type of manner, I think. Let's start with Palmer, of course, with the United away fixture, who some people might be looking at a cheeky armband around, but I don't think it's for me this week. Of course, Palmer can do it against anyone. He is almost fixture proof, and especially when he's on the likes of free kicks and penalties, he can come up with anything in any game. And going into this fixture, I feel a lot of people that don't own him are scrambling to get to him. Is there an opportunity for me to own a Palmer and a Salah at some point in the season? I feel like that would be ideal. But right now, I just don't think it's the move for me. Rodgers versus Tottenham, another injury for Mickey van de Ven, which is absolutely massive. I thought Spurs defended actually quite well versus City yesterday. So this will be an interesting game. Villa is always a hard one, but we seem to get the better of them in recent times, in my mind anyway. And especially if Son is back. We seen Werner get a goal yesterday, but if Sonny's back, I feel like he is, of course, the talisman and he is clinical. So it'll be very important to how we play structurally versus Villa. Moving on from that Villa fixture versus Tottenham, next is Alejandro Garnacho, who got an assist in the Carabao Cup yesterday, and United look class. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard for me to say that, but they look very good. I think we need to make sure not to get carried away. Again, it was against Leicester, who you would expect United to beat. I think if Ten Hag was in charge, they'd probably beat him as well. I can't imagine that there's a immediate manager bounce just from that game. But that Chelsea fixture is not too bad, and that is going to be a fun game to watch because Chelsea have been good this season. United, there's still probably a lot of pressure in a sense where, you know, you're after just sacking your new manager. You're waiting for your new manager to come in the door, but Van Nistelrooy will try to do everything in his power to get a result in this game. So I love owning Garnacho. I think he's really exciting, and in recent weeks he's getting chances, and that's what you want from an asset regardless of how good the team is doing. Next is Brian and Mbeumo versus Fulham away, which I really do like. Of course, Brentford have really good fixtures in the last few weeks and still to come. And Mbeumo has just been that FPL asset this year, and he's doing it consistently. He is absolutely phenomenal, and the 15-pointer last week, some people might be even to be looking at throwing the armband on him. It's not for me, but go for it. So that is the midfield. Let's look at some of our forwards. So up top, we've of course got Dominic Solanke with Villa at home, Erling Haaland with Bournemouth away, and Kai Havertz versus Newcastle away. I have 2 free transfers, like I said. The first move that is in my mind is getting rid of Kai Havertz or Erling Haaland. And I think immediately the first thing is Kai Havertz down to Acuna to open up some funds to upgrade one of those midfielders. But I don't think this is the week for me. I think I fancy rolling it and getting a third transfer for game week 11 and maybe reassessing the situation then and potentially even doing a triple move. I don't think this Newcastle away fixture is the worst for Kai Havertz. Of course, we've seen Isaac pick up a little knock yesterday, it looked like, and Anthony Gordon missing the Premier League fixture also. So this is a Newcastle that are not at the top of their game, and Arsenal just look great still. So I'm more than happy to hold on to Havertz. Let's see if we can pick up with some sort of points in an away fixture. Let's move on to Dominic Solanke, a player that lots of people are getting fed up of, and rightfully so. He's playing quite deep, doing the Kane role like we've seen in previous years, except not coming up with goals or assists. I think generally as a fan, he's doing everything you'd want from your striker. You know, he's working really hard, other than putting the ball in the back of the net. But I do think opportunities are still to come Solanke's way. You have to remember, he's just back from injury and getting back up to tippity top speed. So I'm more than happy to give him another chance. Maybe that is a bit of my bias seeping through. I just don't know who you go from down from a Solanke to. Of course, you have the likes of a DCL who's been fairly disappointed in recent weeks, but has good fixtures. But that Ipswich at home fixture is in the back of my mind for Solanke, so definitely will be holding on to him. And a nice home fixture versus Villa, a team that we can slot goals against. So I'll be holding on to Solanke. Completely understand if you want to get rid of him, but that's where my mind is. Erling Haaland is up next with Bournemouth away. I think for me he will be my captaincy option, and I don't think there's much doubt. It's less so I fancy the fixture for Haaland, it's more so I don't like the other fixtures for some of my top assets like Palmer and Solanke even. So Erling Haaland will default with the armband for me. This Bournemouth fixture is an opportunity for Haaland to score. Of course, he can do it in any single week, and it's not the worst fixture in the world. It's just also not the greatest. So that is the team. I'm happy to run with this team. I think I will be rolling. Let me know what you would do. I have a feeling a lot of people would be moving down from Erling Haaland. One player I was looking at was Isaac, and moving up a dibbling up to a Salah potentially, but I don't know if it's worth the 2 free transfers. So that brings us to the end of this video. Be sure to hit that like button before you go, and I will see you in the next.